So we're just in class uh, with a student deeply in need of this lesson, but she's off camera, so you'll never know who it is. Um, and we're kind of talking about going from a single-legged posture to putting the foot back down. And then, quite often people do that a little poorly, right? Like a heavy foot or a poor placement of the foot or a rushed movement, all these sort of things because I could have moved the camera different when I started. Um, they're in this single-legged posture for whatever period of time, but at some point it feels to be too much to them, and then they're more or less in a hurry to go down. And then, of course, the chance of doing it well is, quite thin. And so it's clear that, okay, we need to get better at standing on one leg. Fair enough, because generally we probably want to be doing this stuff slow. We're talking about Tai Chi Chuan. And I would put it to you that, A, I'm not encouraging anybody to get themselves into trouble and get hurt. That's not what I'm doing. But I would say to you, if you think about a kid, like a hasn't learned to walk yet kid, who you and I looking at them when they're sort of standing kind of in that precarious thing, you can see, I can see it as a grown up, like, oh, you're about to put your hand out on the table, you're about to go down into your butt, you're about to tumble one way or another. But the kid doesn't tend to know it. The actual fall is a surprise to the kid, right? And then luckily they're pretty resilient. They don't weigh much and they're also very close to the ground to start with. And you've taken care of all the sharp corners in your house. So it's not a big deal. But they kind of sort of get surprised by the actual failure point of the standing. And then they're fine and over time they learn it. But I would say that as adults, we aren't generally caught off guard by the failure point of standing. In fact, we don't even usually reach it. But what we do reach before the failure is the familiar fear of expected failure because we're educated, we've learned, we've been there, we've seen other people. And so I would argue that something that probably happens to a lot of people is that they say the trouble I have with getting my foot down well is that I'm running out of, let's say, gas, steam, balance, whatever, ability to stay up, and hence I go down poorly or fast or some combination of negative factors there. And I would say to you that probably, remember I said this is not encouraging you to actually get yourself hurt, but I'm getting to the point where I'm going to say I have to put my foot down. And I would put it to you that probably we're in this little margin period or dusk period of the standing in which really I just have a fear of not staying up or staying up well. And that's what catalyzes me to move. If that's true, then I'd encourage you to kind of work through that. And when I get to the point where I say to myself, I have to go down, try saying to yourself, maybe I don't have to go down. I just know very soon I'll have to. So let me manage the going down and try and do it well, which ekes out a little bit longer standing. But I think it's probably more this fear of the failure of the standing than actual exhaustion of the standing that catalyzes our movement, and then that movement being kind of suddenly catalyzed and urgently catalyzed means I don't achieve the next thing well. So see if that kind of clicks for you. If you haven't heard my door keep lesson, review that because that door keep lesson matches this whole idea too.